Have you ever taken the time to think about the term once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Some of these opportunities might require traveling, like visiting one of the wonders of the world, eating at a Michelin-starred restaurant, or enjoying a Broadway show. On April 8th, 2024, that opportunity is coming to you. Wayne County and its communities, big and small, are fortunate enough to sit directly in the path of the next total solar eclipse. This means our communities will be fortunate enough to play host to an estimated 50 to 100,000 people seeking accommodations, restaurants, attractions, multiple viewing locations, and events. Because of travel accessibility to major highways, rural roads, and optimal viewing experiences, Wayne County will become a bustling destination in the days surrounding this celestial occurrence. This provides our county, its businesses, and its not-for-profits with a huge economic impact opportunity and a chance to highlight Wayne County, Indiana, and all of its amazing assets and people. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our county to stand out uniquely. After all, the next total solar eclipse will not happen here for another 1,000 years. So let's be ready to put Wayne County on the map as the best place to be in the dark.
And welcome to this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric, Executive Director of WCTV. Thank you very much for spending some time with us on a show that is going to be about hanging out in the dark. That just seems so wrong. I'm joined by Mary Walker, Wayne County Convention and Tourism, and Wes Tobin, Assistant Professor of Physics. Smartest guy in the room, trust me, for Indiana University East. Thank you both for spending some time with us and being here. Okay, how much of that is hyperbole? Let's start with that.
Oh, I think it's spot on. It's first of all, a great place to be in the dark, but we'll be in the dark because it's an event that's only hit Richmond. The last time it hit Richmond was 831 AD.
Really?
More than 1,200 years ago. And the next one, we really don't even know when. It's so far out there, but it's more than 1,000 years.
Okay, so let's do this. 50 to 100,000 people coming to see darkness. That sounds a little weird.
4 minutes of darkness.
4 minutes of darkness, and 50 to 100,000 people are going to come hang out just to see darkness.
Well, to my left, we are sitting with someone who would be called an eclipse chaser, in the fact that you are very knowledgeable and you've been through many eclipses. Several.
I've been through several eclipses, but I've never actually seen a total eclipse. So this will be my first time for the total eclipse as well.
Okay, so hold on now. We're not going to gloss over this that fast. You are she called you an eclipse chaser.
Well,
we know what a storm chaser is. We know people who go, study, look at storms. You have done that to some extent with eclipses?
I have gone out of my way to see the partial eclipses that have been nearby.
Okay.
And I've also looked at the transits of Venus and Mercury when it's not been cloudy on those dates. So yeah, you could say that in the sense that I understand the science involved, and I'm looking forward to the next events as they occur.
But you have still not seen a total eclipse.
No.
A total really. Yeah. What is the draw for people? Because if the video is right and 50 to 100,000 people or more may descend on this area for 4 hours of darkness, what it just seems so strange. What is the draw?
Well, first of all, you're going to see something that very few people can see on the Earth without getting into the location that it's happening. So you're going to see an event where During the daytime, it gets dark. The horizon still stays fairly bright, but in general, the whole sky is going to be dark. And then this object that used to be the sun will look like it's dark on the center, but will have a very bright surrounding, bright corona around it that's a lot larger than the sun or the moon by itself. And it will be slightly, just a hair brighter than the full moon, but a lot dimmer than the sun. And this has been, culturally, this has been a sign of changing times, of even heralding of bad things to come, and sometimes good things to come, depending on the culture. So this event is not only a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many of us in Indiana, but is an experience that is so, that hits you at your core. It really gives you this existential perspective on things.
Yeah. And when I have not been through one either, but what I've heard for those who have is that it gets dark and the birds stop chirping. It's as if it's night. And so animals, it's cool. When there's a quick little story that in Kentucky, the rooster, when the eclipse started in 2017, it went to its house. And as soon as the eclipse was getting light again, he comes out and starts, crowing.
Going off.
Yes, just like it was at 6 a.m. in the morning. So there's interesting things like that. And when you look at the path of totality, and you take a look at the whole United States, there is this slim path that is going through 15 states, and Indiana is one of those. And so you can see all of those other places that are not in that path will not be able to participate in this once-in-a-lifetime event. And so what happens is people will flock to those areas. And because of our transportation that we have, I-70, US 40, 35, 38, US 27, in talking with Wes, we have such a wonderful ingress and egress that it makes us very palatable to be a site. So, and plus we have the longest duration. If you look at that line, you have Bloomington, you have Vincennes, you have Dalton Township, Hagerstown, but Wayne County, as I said earlier, is only, when we look at Richmond, it's only 12 seconds less. So we're looking at nearly 3 minutes and 59 seconds, 4 minutes, on the western edge of Wayne County, and that's just spectacular. So our locals, but also our visitors, should really look at this truly as a once-in-a-lifetime event. We've also worked with the school systems, of which they'll be having e-learning days, because as you know, the event is occurring at 3:07,
right.
And there's going to be potentially huge congestion after the eclipse. And so what we don't want is the kids to be on the bus, one, while the eclipse is going on, and two, to be stuck in congested traffic. Again, a friend of mine who went in Kentucky, it typically was about a 3-hour trip. Took her 8, almost 10 hours, 9 hours to get home. Wow. Because of the traffic.
Okay.
So it's things to be aware of.
We're going to talk during this next hour about a couple of things. From a tourism standpoint, what this means, what it means for the communities in the area, and obviously there's a safety component and a science component to this. I'd like us to go through all of that if possible. Let's start, before we get into the science, let's talk a little bit about the tourism component of this. What makes that number of 50 to 100,000 people or more seem like something that's realistic?
Well, again, the realism comes from that we have a long duration that I mentioned earlier. We do have multiple means of ingress and egress, where other communities there's just one way in and one way out. When we look at an eclipse, for me personally, I would much rather be in a community or a county that is not highly populated, such as Indianapolis, because you have all of those lights. You know, we don't think about the eclipse and parking lot lights and street lights and all of that. We have so much agricultural land and spaces where just in 5 to 10 minutes you can be out in the middle of nowhere, and that's where you really want to be. And so I think that there's truly that opportunity when we look at past communities who have hosted this, just like Hopkinsville, 31,000 people. They had 131,000 people that visited because they were right on the longest duration. What that means for our community and our county is huge. This is an opportunity that businesses, organizations, churches, individuals can utilize this in a way of making money. I mean, this is an opportunity that we shouldn't not think about ways that we can all collaborate. We don't have enough people to man all of the events, and so how do we get our friends and families and all of that to come? I've spoken to quite a few people, and they already have people coming from Nebraska and all of that. Granted, they're going to be probably staying with them, but these people are coming from places that are not going to experience this. And as a family, this is something that I am so excited about experiencing because I've never done that. And I'm sure I won't be around in the next 1,000+ years to experience it. So I would just encourage, as we've been working with all of the different communities throughout Wayne County and even Richmond, and they are just moving forward. I mean, it's so exciting to see. Hagerstown was kind of the lead in those communities moving forward. They've got all kinds of events planned. They've really done a good job. Cambridge City as well. We just met with Fountain City, and they're getting excited about it. But it's a monumental thing to think about when you think about that many people. So the more communities that are engaging and having viewing sites and parking spaces. There's going to be pop-up campgrounds. There's going to be pop-up viewing sites. The more the merrier, because it then distributes people to a lot of places versus trying to get in one place and out. So all I can say is think now about the kinds of things that you can do within your community to help that community prosper. Give of your time, and if you have something that you can sell, do that as well, because this is a great opportunity coming up.
Wes, you're the person who has seen partial eclipses, never a total, as you have traveled to close places, and not even being a full total solar eclipse. Are you seeing numbers of people going and gathering to even watch the partial eclipses like what we're talking about here?
Depends on the level of the partial eclipse.
Okay.
So the moon could cover quite a bit of the sun and give you a nice dark effect, even though it's not reaching totality. If that happens in those places, yeah, we do tend to see more people travel. There were more people, for example, in Richmond in 2017, there was a slight increase in the number of people that were at least on the IU East campus. Okay. And we didn't even have that spectacular of an eclipse at that time. But the more and closer you get to totality, the more of an effect, the more that it is a draw. And just as an example, people that might live in Dayton might get 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes of totality there, may still come over on 70 to Richmond because we're going to get another minute. And we have to keep that in mind. We're actually the closest location by drive time to places in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. We're also, Indiana at least, is the closest location in drive time to places as far away as Montana.
Wow.
So we have to consider there's going to be a lot of people coming into Indiana. We know that Chicago People in Chicago are going to come straight to Indianapolis. So we need to be prepared that there's going to be people coming from the east that won't want to go to Indianapolis because they know it's going to be a mess there.
Right.
And so they're going to want to find a nice place to stop before they get there. What better than Wayne County?
Right.
Talk a little bit for us about the science of what all of this is and the safety that is needed with this, because there is a chance if you look up at the wrong time, you could damage your eyes.
Yeah, so safety first, right? So
Yeah.
when we think about safety with our eyes, one of the things that people might say, well, if I look at the sun, it doesn't hurt. It's a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt. Well, you have to remember your eyes don't have pain receptors. Okay, so when you do start feeling pain, it's far too far. It's much too far. So instead, you don't want to look at the sun without any protection. I've got a pair of solar eclipse glasses. They're, of course, the Wayne County solar eclipse glasses. And the trick is...
You gotta get me some of those.
The trick is you always want to have a solar filter between the sun and whatever your first optic is. So if you're wearing glasses, you want to have that in front. If you're not wearing glasses, but if you have, let's say, a phone, you want to make sure that it's in front of the lens, okay? No matter what optic you're using, you want to make sure that the filter is between it and the sun. For those of us that don't have glasses or just wear contacts, you can just put them straight on, right? You're looking away from the sun, you put them on, and then you look up towards the sun, okay? And then when you take them off, you look away and you take them off. Now, the trick is also having the right solar eclipse filter. Just like in 2017, we saw a number of people that were selling online that had the wrong standard.
The wrong standard.
The wrong standard. So the correct standard for viewing the sun is ISO 12312-2. And if you wonder, have I memorized that by now? Yes, I have. So ISO 12312-2 is the international standard for solar observing. There's a few other standards for different countries out there as well. So there are other standards that are okay, but they would be equivalent to the ISO, the international standard, 12312-2. And so this, for example, on the inside of these solar eclipse glasses, you actually have it very well stamped. I'm sure they probably can't zoom in this far,
right.
But it is clearly listed on the inside of the glasses. If you get solar eclipse glasses, you want to look for that. If you're purchasing solar eclipse glasses, you want to go through a reputable vendor. Now, reputable vendors, there's a whole list of reputable vendors for solar eclipse filters of all kinds on the American Astronomical Society website. They have vetted every single vendor, and many of the vendors that they have there are actually resellers from the other vendors. You should not go to Amazon and just purchase randomly. But I will tell you that some of those reputable vendors do have Amazon stores. So buying from Amazon isn't necessarily a problem as long as you're smart about it. Again, with the solar eclipse filters, always make sure they're between the sun and whatever your first optic is.
And that's whether you're using a camera, whether you're using your eyes, whether you're using a phone, regardless, something should be there.
Correct.
And isn't there another but a tip, that if you can see through, let's say that you're somewhere and you see solar eclipse glasses and you're thinking about buying them, if you put them up to your eyes and you can see through them, do not buy them.
Yeah, to a certain extent. So very bright projector bulbs, you might be able to see a hint of light coming through standard solar eclipse. But if you can look through them like they're very dark sunglasses, they're not dark enough.
Right.
These only let in less than 1/1000th of the light that's coming in. So having just several pairs of sunglasses won't help you. If you happen to have a welder's mask with fixed shades between number 13 and number 13, number 14, number 15, those would work. They have to be fixed shades. They can't turn on and off. They can't vary. And then there are a few other options for viewing the solar eclipse that doesn't require solar eclipse glasses, but every single one of those requires you looking away from the sun. So one is a pinhole filter or pinhole viewer, where you put a pinhole in one side of a box and you look at the other side of the box where it's focusing light. You'll see the projection of the solar eclipse or of the eclipse on the end of the box. Another example would be to use something like a colander or something that has small holes in it. You can allow the sunlight to shine through it and look where that light is projected. And where it's projected, it will look very much like the eclipse. Now, once you get to total eclipse, those 4 minutes, then you can take the solar eclipse filters off, but only for those 4 minutes. So let's run down that just a little bit.
Sure.
The partial eclipse begins at about 10 minutes till 2. It will stay a partial eclipse, meaning you have to have your solar eclipse glasses, all the way until 3:07 or so for the Richmond area. And then you can remove your glasses for 4 minutes, roughly. At which time you then have to put them back on for the remaining hour and a half or so, or hour and 20 minutes or so of the rest of the eclipse as it goes through its last portion of partial eclipse.
So we're saying the total eclipse portion is 4 minutes in length, but this whole event
Correct.
is going to last
3
hours?
Yes.
Okay. And for only 4 minutes of it, can you remove your safety glasses?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What will people see, or what can people see as this progresses?
Well, you'll see when you're looking through the solar filters, you'll see basically the bright sun. You might be able to see some sunspots if they're big enough, or if you have a camera or a telescope that has proper filtering, you might be able to see some sunspots. As the moon starts coming in, it almost looks like the sun is going away. It almost looks like someone's taking a bite out of the sun. And it will continue to progress as if it's a circle on a circle until it reaches, until it nears totality. And then you start seeing some very unusual things. So you see the diamond ring effect, which is the last brightest point of the sun coming through the valleys and the rills of the moon. And that will be extremely bright, and then it will start to fade. You may see some of what's known as Bailey's beads, which is some of the brighter portions of light coming from the sun that are also coming through the valleys or rills on the moon. But what happens is those Bailey's beads will start getting closer together. They form an arc around the outside of the moon, so they'll start getting closer together and smaller and smaller and smaller. Once you can no longer see the Bailey's beads through your solar eclipse glasses, then you can take them off. Now, when it gets to the other side of the 4 minutes, you're going to have that moment where you start to see the Bailey's beads, or you start to see the diamond ring effect without your solar eclipse glasses on. Now, it's very important that at that moment, you don't keep watching. You put your solar eclipse glasses back on, because that is the sign that totality has ended. And if you do that immediately, you won't have a problem. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in a place where someone's announcing things, you should have, hopefully you'll have someone announce, put your solar eclipse glasses back on when they see that. But don't delay, because even a few seconds of delay could cause temporary damage. More than that could cause permanent damage.
You're suggesting people cover even their phone cameras.
Yes.
Could they, we're talking about damaging eyes, could they damage their phone or the camera on their phone if it's not covered?
Yes. A regular camera or a telescope, for example, one of the things you have to worry about there is the coatings on the glass. And as the sunlight goes through that glass, it's going to warm up the coatings and it could burn the coatings. So if you don't use a filter, you could actually destroy the camera or the telescope You could even destroy your phone. Now, some of the phones, some of the manufacturers of certain phones have stated that theirs can withstand a solar viewing. I don't trust that at all. I've seen phones get destroyed. Now, they haven't been as new as the ones we have today, but I don't trust that they can withstand and image the sun properly without a solar filter.
You mentioned that as it gets darker, some of the animals will do different things. Can you talk a little bit about that and what's causing that? Is it they just see darkness and they react that way?
Actually, it is very much that. And we see similar effects with light pollution, where there's too much light. Sometimes animals and plants don't behave like they normally do. But with a total eclipse, you get that decreasing light. It decreases so fast, and that animals just look up and they look around. They see darkness. They think, oh, it's time to do whatever I do at night. Now, for deer, that may mean that they'll start running across the road. For birds, they'll return to their nest. There will be an eerie quiet because animals won't know what to do, so they're not going to make a sound, or they're going to try not to anyway. Okay. You might hear an owl because they're nighttime feeders. That's when they make their noise. But the one thing I always want to point out here in Indiana, you got to watch out for the skunks. Okay, because they come out at night too. So
I see some on my way to my morning job in the dark. Yes.
So
we'll see more bats. The bats will arrive and come out and.
Yeah. So basically, if they're nighttime animals, they're likely to come out, especially with 4 minutes of darkness. After the first minute or so, they're going to be like, "Yeah, it's definitely night. Let's go." But the regular animals that are out during the day are going to be looking for cover. They're going to be trying to prepare for the night, prepare for their rest. And what comes along with it, and this is perhaps part of the reason that it affects animals so much, is just before the total eclipse, there's a breeze. There's always a pre-eclipse breeze. It's just a few minutes right before the total eclipse, the totality begins. And then when totality reaches, that breeze goes away. So not only is it an eerie silence, it is a complete loss in the wind that you were feeling just a moment ago. And then when you look up, of course, it looks like the sky's been inverted. So it's a very different experience.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're having a chance to spend some time with Mary Walker, Wes Tobin, talking about how Wayne County is going to be a great place to hang out in the dark when we get to next April. What is the date?
April 8th, 2024.
April 8th, 2024. It's a Monday. And you talked about working with the schools for an e-learning day. I imagine that what you've just described, the potential for eye damage, is one of the reasons that you all have talked to the school systems about this. You have a bunch of kids on a bus. They see something change. The immediate thought process is to take a look.
Right.
And we're trying to avoid that.
Right. Plus the congestion.
Plus the congestion. As you travel around, as you talk to people about this, how has the word been getting out, particularly about the safety feature of this? Because yes, people will see some of the In Focus program, but we don't have everyone in Wayne County or the surrounding area. How much conversation, how many meetings are going on? How is the word getting out to the community about what's going to happen? And we'll talk about even particularly the safety part of this.
Right. Well, I can certainly address some of that. We wanted, with our business session that we had back in July, to start talking to businesses because they also need to be preparing, and not for the with the eyeglasses as much as ordering more food, making sure they have enough help, staying open on Mondays if they're not open on Mondays. I mean, really looking at this as an opportunity for them. The local engagement piece, what we're thinking is starting that probably in January, because we've got Thanksgiving coming up, we've got Christmas, and so January will be that time where we can really start hitting through all mediums in terms of the media for people to really be engaged. I'm still surprised on some level when I talk about the eclipse just with people, that it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But it's really starting to populate. So that's kind of our game plan, is to look more in the January, February, March months to really start working with the residents. When we work with the communities that have done are doing such a great job in creating events, we have over 50 events right now that are occurring on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even Monday night. Our thought process throughout all of this is, if we can stagger people coming in, that's a plus. If we can also stagger people leaving and staying Monday night and leaving Tuesday and stagger that, that's a plus too, so that they're not all getting the highways congested. And so the communities, to include Richmond, have all really started banding together, and that's another means of getting that word out, because all of those events are going to take local people to put on. And the great thing about what the communities are doing is they're having events that local people can also participate in. So it's, when we talk about people coming in from an outside visitation, of course it's always, the tremendous economic impact that can result from that. But it's also, from a local perspective, showing off our communities and being proud. And if there are little snafus of a long line, not doing road rage, be gentle. Hoosier hospitality needs to come through. Valerie Schaefer with the Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County, she gave an example back in July at our business session where Dot Foods, Wayne County was on the list of the final list. And they came in and they talked to someone at a gas station, and they were just so upbeat and loved their community that is not the only reason, but that was a reason as to why they solidified here. And they love that family, they love that enthusiasm and passion for their community. And we as locals need to be aware that we have an opportunity, because we don't know who these people are coming in. They could be, it's not going to be an inexpensive venture for people to come into. They're going to, just like all of us plan for a vacation, they're going to plan this as a vacation of sorts. And so they'll be prepared to spend and to do things. And so this is an opportunity that our locals can really put their best foot forward and say, we love our community, because you just don't know. They could be business owners that are looking to relocate, and they like what they see. So I'm a firm believer you never know where your next piece of business is going to come from, and I think this event can be just that and more. So very, very excited about this.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We'll talk about some of the places you can find information, keep up with what's going on. There are things online, and we'll go through some of the information in case you missed some of it as we continue with In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
At Help the Animals Inc. in Richmond, we strive to find our cats and dogs forever homes. Adoption is as easy as filling out our online application. Every pet that leaves our shelter is spayed, neutered, and up to date on vaccinations. Volunteering at the shelter can be a rewarding experience. Come to our orientation on the second Saturday of every month. Want to learn more? Visit our website at helptheanimalsinc.com. Like us on Facebook or call 765-962-6811. Help the Animals Inc. Finding your next best friend.
Richmond Sanitary District curbside service in your neighborhood. Know the dings. Bag trash goes into your green rosy roller. Regular route drivers do not get out of their trucks to pick up bags and items left beside your green rosy roller. If you have larger items that do not fit in your green rosy roller, please call to schedule a special pickup, 765-983-7450. Clean, loose, unbagged recyclables go in your blue Ritchie roller. Plastic bottles and jugs, aluminum and steel cans, glass bottles and jars with lids removed. Newspaper, chipboard like cereal boxes and magazines should be placed on top of the blue Ritchie roller tied. Corrugated cardboard has the wavy layers. It must be clean, no pizza grease, folded and broken down to slide easily out of the container when picked up to be emptied by the truck. Questions on the curbside containers? Please call Debbie Tevis at 765-983-7456. Richmond Sanitary District. Our goal is to grow.
WCTV supports local entertainment. WCTV supports local information. WCTV supports our local students. WCTV needs your support to continue supporting our community, and it's easy to do. Become a member as an individual or family. Nonprofit and business memberships are also available with benefits including video production and program sponsorship. Membership donations are critical, and when deciding where your support dollars go, support an organization that serves the community you live in. Visit WCTV.info or call 765-973-8488.
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Whether you're catching us on our premiere 6 p.m. airing or 10:30 or one of our weekend shows, or maybe it's a Sunday morning and you're working out and just listening to the audio of this on ESPN Radio 1490 AM, 100.9 FM, and their sister station G1013, we appreciate you spending some time with In Focus. We're talking with Mary Walker and Wes Tobin about the solar eclipse that is coming in on, I'm not going to memorize the date. I know it's in April. I just figure the whole month of April, I'm just going to stay in and sleep because I don't know when the eclipse is going to be, and I don't want to get caught in the traffic. So it'll be that easy for me.
I'll call you the day before. It's Monday, April 8th, 2024.
You can go to a website that will provide some information.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So when we found that this was going to be an opportunity, we've been working with Josh Imhoff and others in creating a website. The URL is WayneCountySolarEclipse.com, and we also have RichmondSolarEclipse.com. They both go to the same place. This website will be the one-stop shop for all Wayne County related eclipse events, items, lodging, pop-up campgrounds, unique things, all the above. So I would really encourage anyone to, just very simple to remember, RichmondSolarEclipse.com or WayneCountySolarEclipse.com. And as we continue to gather information, I was just at a meeting with the Wayne County Emergency Management Group, and I've asked them for an FAQ sheet of all the things that we need to think about from an emergency management standpoint, numbers, et cetera. So that type of thing will be on there. It just, anyone offering fun and creative things that, such as, if it's a new special or whatever, we'll have those things. But primarily events will be there. And we're always adding. So we have right now, as I was saying, over 50 events, and there's more coming. It's always, people think that they have time, but in reality, I looked at it today, and we have 152 days before this once in a lifetime, never see again, 1,000 years eclipse.
What do you need businesses to know and think about right now to prepare for this?
Right. Well, first of all, that it's going to happen, and to be aware and to understand that, look at opportunities. If they're closed on a Monday or a Tuesday, whatever, be open so that people have places to go. One of the meetings that I went to a year ago, we were talking about places for breakfast. Well, there aren't really, when you think about it,
Yeah.
throughout Wayne County, a lot of places for breakfast. And so how do we get creative with that? How do we, with communities, work with churches and other organizations to have that amenity available? And so for all of the restaurants, hotels, our Airbnbs, for the most part, are sold out. Our hotels, we still have rooms, but we look for that to change as people start getting through the holidays and looking at January. We've called and cities around us, Indianapolis being one of those, they're expecting 250,000 people. The state itself, what I've heard.
Indianapolis itself is expecting
Yes.
250,000 people in a place where there's going to be a lot of lights and it won't be a great place to
Right.
see it.
I mean, that's only my personal opinion, but come to Wayne County, great place to be in the dark. But they're expecting 250,000 people. What I've heard overall for Indiana, it's about 1.5 million. And so you look at that number and say 50 to 100,000 really sounds accurate. And again, when we talk about the transportation in and out, I mean, we're easy. And as Wes said earlier, one of the things that we're doing is, from a digital marketing standpoint, is to start doing that. We're starting now, and then we'll beef that up as we get closer and closer to the eclipse. But we're looking at the east. We're looking at Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio. We look and we mapped it on a map as to what makes the most logical sense to come to Wayne County. So from the businesses, I would just say, be prepared, invite your friends and family in. They can view the event, but they can work the event. Think of creative things that are fun, off the wall, that are eclipse related. Have extra dishwashers and bussers, because people aren't going to want to wait. I mean, we have that now, and we know that we're short staffed now as it is, but really work to add that staff, and really work to not doing what you do 51 weeks of the year. Make this a special time, be open, have a party, have music, have all of these kinds of things that add into the experience. Have giveaways like glow-in-the-dark necklaces and bracelets and just fun things. Have sidewalk sales. I mean, you know, there's nothing more when you're ready to get through your items and get for spring and fall, have these opportunities available, because they will be here. And sad if you miss that opportunity. I'll give you one example. Hopkinsville, again, Kentucky. We've been in contact with them. And the Elks, our local Elks here, they're planning to do some fun things. What they're going to start doing is reaching out to their members first, inviting them to Richmond. And one of their members made a call to Hopkinsville Elks and found out that Hopkinsville Elks decided not to do anything. They just closed up shop.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And they had 131,000 people that they could have gotten. Maybe a little 1% of that would have been huge. So that's just an example of saying it's coming. It's not going to come next year. It's going to come in another 1,000 years beyond us. And take this as an opportunity, have fun with it, and get everybody involved, because it's going to be a really cool thing.
From a scientific standpoint, I would assume that this would be a chance for physics teachers, science teachers to really kind of embrace the youth in our area and really kind of train them about what this is all about. Have the teachers gotten together to talk about what this could look like going forward?
Well, to some extent, yes. The physics teachers in the state of Indiana have been discussing some things across email about what they're doing in various communities. There has been a lot of discussion about trying to make this an educational activity. You know, observe, draw what you see, think about what you're actually seeing there. Whereas others are just looking at this and saying, well, this is my chance to say that a solar eclipse is when the moon gets in the way of the sun. And sometimes that little bit of information suddenly pops astronomy into perfect understanding, into knowing the difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse, for example. One of the things I wanted to mention, because I loved this, is the word eclipse comes from a Greek word that essentially means abandonment. It is supposed to be there, but it's not.
Okay.
And this idea of the sun abandoning us for a moment really kind of highlights the emotional effect that it will have on you as well.
What got you involved in looking at eclipse? I mean, they come, they go, there's partial, there's solar, you hear about them, but sometimes we don't think about them. What was the attraction and what is the attraction for you?
Well, actually by research, I'm an observational astronomer. So I observe the stars all the time. The stars I observe, I actually observe them eclipsing because I observe eclipsing binary stars. But usually that's at night. This is my chance to observe an eclipsing star in the daytime. But observational methods have always been an interest of mine. I remember as a kid, I would sit out and watch lunar eclipses on my parents' driveway. And sometimes those lunar eclipses there was no change in brightness that's noticeable to the eye, but I would sit there and watch them anyway.
Cool.
But
Nice. As you look at what this could be, how kids can be affected positively, we talk a lot about STEM. Where do you see this going? And the other question would be for locals, where is a good place, if you're looking for good places to view this, what should we be looking for? Since it's going to be so dark, if we stay in or near our homes, is that good? Should we find the middle of a cornfield or something? Well, I don't think farmers want us standing in their cornfields, but
may get it.
what are we looking for in terms of, for us, what's a good place?
well, really close to home is the best thing. If you don't have to be somewhere else, if you're not helping out with businesses in the area, try to stay home because the traffic is going to be a bit of a challenge. It'll take you longer to get anywhere. The good news is we can see the sun from almost anywhere. What you have to pay attention to is street lights, because most street lights will come on when it's dark. So if you're looking for a good place for totality, right under a street light or near a street light is probably not a good idea. So you want to pay attention to where those will be. The totality will occur in the south to southwest sky. And I'm going to say at 40 degrees altitude, but that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. So it's going to be pretty high in the sky, but as long as there's not a street light in that vicinity, you should be able to see the total eclipse pretty well. You can see it from a backyard. You can see it from a front yard. It really doesn't matter too much there. Just make sure that any lights that come on because it gets dark are nowhere near you.
What happens to us if, I'm not going to look at Mary, if this turns out to be a partly cloudy day or something along those lines? How does the weather in those terms affect what we might or might not see?
That's the great thing about a total solar eclipse, is if it is completely cloudy, we'll still see the darkening effects. We'll still have darkness around us in the middle of the day. Animals will still do their thing. If it's thin layer of clouds or if it's puffy clouds here and there, we should still be able to see the whole thing for the most part. You know, you might get that cloud that's in the wrong spot, but clouds move pretty fast in April. If it's a thin layer of clouds, you can still see the solar eclipse through the clouds. So the percentages are actually on our side for being able to see something. It's greater than 60% chance of sunlight, even though it's greater than 50% chance of clouds. And that's because you could have clouds and sunlight at the same time.
Sure.
I will go on record, though, saying that this year, with all of you doom and gloom people, this year I was in Hagerstown, Indiana, the week of April 8th, and it was much like today. It was 70 degrees. So I'm sticking to that until we get closer. There's always that possibility, though.
Sure. We have about 7 minutes left to go. I need to find out from each one of you all what you really want people to know going forward. And we're going to have you back. We're going to talk about this. You mentioned again, for some people, particularly heading into the holiday season, this is not top of mind,
Right.
but they're going to have people coming in,
Yes.
and we want them to be aware of this is another time, another way that maybe they could bring their family back
Yes.
for something fun. So what do you want people to know about where they can get information, what the Tourism Bureau has to offer? I've seen these cool shirts running around. Where can we get one of those? Talk about a little bit of that.
Sure. We talked about it earlier with the website. That is the key place to get any kind of information because we're always adding to it. So what you see today may be different than what you see a week from now in terms of events and other things. So the WayneCountySolarEclipse.com, put that on your radar, keep it bookmarked. As far as souvenirs, certainly out at the Bureau, we have all kinds of fun things. We have bandanas for dogs and cats. We have T-shirts. We have hats. We have all of those kinds of things that are the typical type souvenirs. We even have the filters that go on the phones because learning from Wes, I've learned immensely a lot of things from Wes with regards to the upcoming eclipse. So I think make it fun, get your family involved. One event that I think could be a really fun family event, I've seen on the internet where, you know, these glasses fit adults pretty well, but they don't really fit kids very well.
Right.
And kids move. And so they don't want to all of a sudden lose their glasses and look up and we have some problems. I've seen just homemade, take a paper plate, put the eye holes in, put a little piece of rubber band, put the glasses, and then it's, you know, they're running around with a pie plate and glasses, but they stay in place. You know, but they can do fun things like that at home. They can do studying. We have some books out at the Bureau where it's on a kid's level that talks about the eclipse. It's a person that used to live here, now lives in Muncie, but it's a local person that wrote that. And so there's all kinds of things. I know IU East is going to be doing some things. Earlham is too. And you'll see more and more of this pop up. And I think the educational part of that we can all do as a family. You know, we don't get those opportunities a lot. And this is one that we can celebrate.
There is a slide that our director wants to put up, Wes, that he would like you to kind of explain a little bit here.
Glad I went first.
So a lunar eclipse is when the moon, it goes through the shadow of the Earth, so it's on the opposite side of the sun, from the sun. Solar eclipse is when the moon gets between the Earth and the sun. But if you ever find the sun being between the moon and the Earth, that's it. We're done.
That's the apocalypse.
It's all over. Good addition to that. Now that we've done that, what do you need people to think about between now and then? What do you want people to be aware of? What do you want them thinking about as far as this safety, whatever the case may be?
Well, if you're going to get solar filters, you should be ordering them now, because when we get to March, they're going to be sold out. You should expect that now, and if you can get them this year, it's better. Solar eclipse filters do not expire as long as they are taken care of. Okay. I have several eclipse glasses for my sons and nephews and family, and they are all in a hard shell container to make sure that they stay safe all the way until April. The other thing I would say is while making the plate for a child is a great idea. You should be aware that they shouldn't be running around with those because
that's true.
First they can't see, but also with especially younger kids, you want to make sure they're sitting down.
Yes.
Because when they're sitting down, then you can make sure that they have the glasses on, look up, and look down before taking the glasses off. If they're up and standing, they might start walking, they might start moving. And honestly, for me, I'm the type of person I need to be sitting down when I look up too.
Well, and it is hard to see. When you have the glasses on, you really can't see what's in front of you. So it's very easy to trip and fall and break something. For those who may need glasses, there are opportunities throughout Wayne County. Each community has glasses. We also have glasses. We put an order in of about 66,000 glasses. We have sold those to communities, about 26,000. So we still have 40 left. And so if people need bulk, companies, families, whatever, they can always give the Tourism Bureau a call. And again, in every community, there's also glasses available. So get those early as well.
All right. Thank you, Wes Tobin. Mary Walker, always good to talk to you. We'll have you back after the first of the year to go through a few more things. As we head out of here, we'll give you an idea of a few things that you can do in the community. Help the Animals is having a low-cost vaccination clinic at the Wayne County Fairgrounds this Saturday from 1 until 4 p.m. If you can get your dogs and animals taken care of, that would probably be a great thing for the community. Hagerstown Library has a So What's for Supper the last Tuesday of each month between 5 and 6. Join us at the library for a recipe swap, menu planning, and a chance to talk about cooking and other hacks to help make life a lot easier. We only ask that you bring 2 recipes to share. The Hagerstown Library is at 10 West College Street in Hagerstown. Cha-Cha dance lessons are available at Morrison Reeves Library on November 27th from 6 to 7:30 in the Bard Room. Space is limited and this event is free. Cha-Cha dance lessons with Erica and Mark. Now, some previous experience or partner is optional. We can teach you how to do all the basic steps. Well, they can, not me. Smooth-soled shoes are recommended. And it's time for Hometown Holiday Craft and Vendor event presented by the Centerville Athletic Boosters at Centerville High School on Sunday, November 26th. From 10 till 5. If you need info on this ticketed event, call 765-855-3481, extension 2000. Senior Adult Ministries November meeting takes place on Tuesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. This is at First United Methodist Church, 318 National Road West. If you need more information, you can give them a call at 765-962-4357. Senior Adult Ministry invites anyone 50 years or older to a Thanksgiving potluck. Bring something meaningful for you to share. Thank you very much for watching this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. See replays of this program beginning tonight and throughout the weekend. You can also find it on our Facebook page. Thanks for watching In Focus. As always, I wish you well.